It's over, Mr. Firtash. You've been piped. I get the gas. After all, I'm the princess.
Only in election animation can you remove the gas intermediary company Rosukrenergo in a fun manner. In real life, it's much more brutal.
They're not letting a people's deputy through.
Dmytro Firtash, co-owner of the gas intermediary Rosukrenergo, tried to cling to the Ukrainian gas pipe with all his might. But contracts signed by Tymoshenko and Putin in 2009 became a death warrant for his business. In a month, the state company Naftogaz was raided by the security service. They were looking for the originals of the contracts.
Mr. Khoroshkovsky, who is Mr. Firtash's private business partner, note conflict of interest, is now using the SBU as a private security firm for Rosukrenergo.
Khoroshkovsky, who was deputy head of the SBU at the time, went to parliament and publicly defended the intermediary. However, Rosukrenergo could not get back into the gas supply scheme. Instead, the businessman decided to return the 11 billion cubic meters of gas worth $3 billion. Where did the scandalous cubic meters come from? The direct contract between Naftogaz and Gazprom had a supplement. It was allegedly written by Putin and Tymoshenko personally. RUE, a subsidiary of Gazprom, owes it $1.7 billion. Gazprom had to pay Ukraine for the transit of gas to European countries. Russia gave the right to demand Rosukrenergo's debt to Naftogaz and thus paid for the transit. Russia washed its hands and Tymoshenko could demand the money from RUE. At the time, Rosukrenergo was keeping its export transit gas in underground storages, so Tymoshenko claimed the gas instead of the money, although the contract stated only fiscal debts. The Prime Minister ordered the customs to clear the gas for Naftogaz.
The status of this gas has not changed. It is transit gas. The Russian company Gazprom sold it to the company Rosukrenergo. Under the customs code, any changes in status are possible only with the consent of the owner and the decision of the customs authority. Otherwise, it's a crime.
Oleg Dubina, then head of Naftogaz, started receiving letters. Here, the head of RUE's board of directors writes that the company did not give permission to sell the gas and threatens legal action. A claim to the Arbitration Institute of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce from Rosukrenergo demanded the return of 11 billion cubic meters of gas. A spokesman explained the company's position to our program.
Documents state that the gas belongs to Rosukrenergo. There isn't a single document that says it belongs to someone else. We hope that all decisions will be in our favor, because after signing the agreement, we legally became the owners of the contract between Gazprom and Rosukrenergo.
Former Naftogaz top manager Igor Didenko's signature is on the contract where Gazprom reassigns RUE's debt to the Ukrainian company. Now Didenko is a frequent guest in Stockholm, questioned as a witness.
I think that the Swedish arbiters will sort everything out, and Naftogaz will keep its money.
Didenko gave this interview to TVI last year. Now he is not as optimistic. There was a change in government. There were also changes in the tycoon layout. The biggest enemy of the previous government is now a government favorite. Dmytro Firtash has received political bonuses. People close to him received high management positions. Experts suggest that now the businessman will return his lost financial assets. During the 2007 parliamentary elections, white and blue deputies, who were later called the Firtash Group, received seats in the Supreme Rada. These were Yuri Boyko, Serhiy Levachkin, his sister Yulia Novikova, Alexander Volkov and others. Gradually, the influence of this group increased and weakened the position of the founders of the Party of Regions. The distribution of positions after Yanukovych became president confirmed this tendency.
Serhiy Levachkin, head of the presidential administration, Valery Khoroshkovsky, head of the security service of Ukraine, Yuri Boyko, minister of fuel and energy of Ukraine, Yevgen Bakulin, chairman of Naftogaz, Yuri Borisov, head of Ukrgazvidobuvanya, Serhiy Vinokurov, chairman of Ukrtransgaz.
So if earlier in Stockholm Rosukrenergo and Naftogaz were on different sides of the barricades, now both companies in fact defended the interests of one person, businessman Dmytro Firtash. How will Mykola Azarov's government act? Because on the one hand, it should protect national interests, on the other, the Firtash business group demands satisfaction and the return of the lost assets. And that's just not possible without hitting the budget. But faction deputy Serhiy Vlasenko says that lawyers representing Naftogaz in Stockholm may simply be instructed to stop their defense, basically surrender to the winners.
It's enough to take a few wrong steps to ensure that the court simply accepts the plaintiff's arguments. From the outside, it will look as if Ukraine simply lost. It fought to the end, but lost. Although it's not true, but it will be understood only by experts.
It's impossible to find out how the parties act in this conflict. The arbitration in Stockholm meets in confidence. That is, decisions that directly affect the welfare of the country are closed to its citizens. We do not provide information on specific cases, do not confirm their existence and do not confirm their absence. This week, thanks to reliable sources of the weekly Mirror of the Week, it became known that Ukraine has already partially lost in the Stockholm arbitration. Kyiv was ordered to pay Rosukrenergo $197 million.
The court satisfied the demands of our company to recover penalties, including the delay in pay for supplied gas. This is a positive decision. The court affirmed the improper performance of contractual obligations by Naftogaz.
Having won this interim victory, RUE started the main offensive. Now the court will decide the fate of the remaining 11 billion cubic meters of gas. Its market price today is $3.5 billion. If the money is awarded to Rosukrenergo, it could destroy the entire Ukrainian economy. The country is barely making ends meet, seeking financial support from the International Monetary Fund to patch up budget holes. The national interests of the Azarov government and private interests of the group of businessmen Firtash are obviously different. This is understood in Moscow. After all, Kyiv is trying to receive a discount for Russian natural gas. Russian journalist Mikhail Leontiev is deemed a mouthpiece for the Kremlin. Ever Prime Minister Putin has in mind, Leontiev has on his tongue. He believes that new gas relations between Kyiv and Moscow leave no place for corrupt agents and their authoritative patrons.
I think that to satisfy the ambitions of this part of this clan coalition is just too much. It's impossible. They're too greedy. Koroshkovsky, Firtash and the lot are not something Ukraine can afford.
Fuel and Energy Minister Yuri Boyko did not comment on the apparent conflict of public and private gas interests after the Stockholm arbitration ruling, but his deputy made it clear the state simply has nowhere to go.
If the ruling is in favor of one party or another, then of course the state should fulfill it.
In contrast, First Vice Prime Minister Andrei Kluyev stresses that in a dispute with gas tycoons for the government, public interest will prevail.
Our position is unequivocal: to protect the interests of the state.
If the companies close to Firtash win in the Stockholm court, Ukraine simply won't be able to meet the financial requirements on the claimant. It will face a default. Obviously, tasty state assets will be provided to satisfy the tycoons' appetites. Businessman Metro Firtash may be interested in regional gas companies, the Odessa port plant and other state enterprises. Another way is for Firtash's empire to return into the gas scheme of gas supplies to Ukraine. All this will become clear in May. The decisive hearing of the Stockholm Arbitrary Court is expected then.